Hi everyone, I'm Heath Hightower, co-host of Process Recordings. Before we get started with today's show, I want to just give you a quick reminder. While Lisa and I hope you find our show useful, we also want you to know that it's not a substitute for therapy. If you do need a therapist, however, we do recommend that you check out the psychologytoday.com website. Also, if you need immediate support, contact 988, which is the 3-digit number to contact the National Crisis Hotline and Suicide number. Thanks for listening and watching, and enjoy the show. Hi everyone, I'm Heath Hightower.
And I'm Lisa Wessan.
And this is Process Recordings, the show where we have real conversations about real human experiences, and we offer tips, tools, and techniques for some of life's greatest and most common concerns. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah.
It's great to be back.
It's really good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we doing today? What are we talking about?
Well, we discussed this in December, but we chose to start in January for various holiday reasons. And we're going to be doing a deep dive into gratitude, the double-sided coin.
Yeah, the double-sided coin indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, and what I'm smiling about right now, for those of you who can see me smiling, is that Lisa and I actually talked about doing this episode a while ago, and we decided to do it now for a variety of reasons, as Lisa indicated. So gratitude, as I think about it, is the ability to experience appreciation, as well as express appreciation for some aspect of one's life. And I'm just wondering, how do you think about gratitude?
So for me, I see really that there is a spectrum of gratitude from the micro to the macro level. So very briefly, the micro level is, especially if someone is dealing with a lot of mental trouble like depression or anxiety or fears, the micro level of gratitude is like being grateful, at least you brushed your teeth, you took a shower, you washed your hair today. That's good. And that's really good, actually.
Right.
Because when someone's very depressed, it's very hard to take a shower, okay, for some people.
Yeah.
And that's the micro level. Just the basic, the activities of daily living at the bottom of the Maslow hierarchy, you know, the very basic needs. I ate food today. I got some protein into my body. That can be grateful. Then on the up to the macro level, on the higher level of the spectrum is, oh, an article was published today. Or we're doing a podcast. Or I hiked a 5-mile mountain, whatever. That's like the macros, like the big things, the happy things.
Right.
An anniversary with your husband,
Sure.
you know, those are the macros, you know.
Yeah.
And so in every life, of course, we have a combination of wonderful, small, the daily things. And I love what the Buddha once said, apparently, you know, that happiness is wanting what you have. And so being grateful for what you do have is a way of focusing your mental energy. And there's science on this too that shows like the blood, you know, from that positive psychology. You said it at lunch,
Martin Seligman.
Martin Seligman down at University of Pennsylvania. When you focus on gratitude, the 3 good things that he talks about, your blood pressure goes down, your cortisol is reduced, your brain works better, you function better, you know. So it has the science on gratitude.
Yeah.
And I like what Alan Cohn said, that the quality of your life equals the ratio of appreciation to complaint. So, you know, complaining is draining and gratitude is nourishing.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I'm listening to you talk, one of the things that I'm being reminded of is just what gratitude feels like in my own body. Because I think sometimes when we hear things like gratitude, they can feel really abstract, almost ephemeral, like it's something that happens out there. But gratitude is actually something that we experience in here. And so when I was listening to you talk, I was really connecting with the sensation of gratitude, which at least for me is kind of this soft, comfortable contentment, which just kind of exudes everywhere inside of my body.
Yes.
It's not like a really intense emotion like joy or pleasure. It's just a real soft, subtle emotion that just kind of permeates every part of my body. There's kind of a
I like that.
quiet to it almost.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how do you experience
Yes,
gratitude?
I like that. For me, gratitude, well, I know that every thought becomes a chemical reaction in our body. So when I have gratitude thoughts,
Mm,
I feel relief,
mm,
I feel hopeful,
mm,
I feel excited. And there's a great acronym for the word hope, because gratitude brings to me to hope, like things are going to get better. If I'm having a hard day, I'm grateful that I know things will turn around, things are going to get better. And hope, I didn't make this up, but hope stands for, whoever made this up, thank you. Hold on, pain ends.
mm.
So when I feel grateful, I borrow from the 12-step programs too, and they say that grateful people don't pick up. Like when I'm feeling grateful, I'm not so hungry. I'm not going to go nibbling away at food and trying to use food to self-soothe. Gratitude fills me and nourishes me. It makes me feel content, like you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of fullness and hopefulness and a positive expectation. I like to have anticipatory joy versus anticipatory anxiety. And when I'm in a state of gratitude, I do have more anticipatory joy, like things are going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. What kinds of things do you like anticipating that bring you that sense of gratitude?
Well, of course, people, places, things. So for people like, visiting family and friends. I mean, I don't see my brother as much as I'd like to. He's whatever. He's here and there. He travels a lot with his wife. It's great. I'm not begrudging them their trips, but they do travel a lot.
Yeah.
And my sister's no longer with us. I used to love visiting her.
Yeah.
My dearest friends, I visit my New York friends, my Florida friends, San Francisco, local Chelmsford people, of course, I get to see weekly.
Yeah.
So visiting people, I look forward to seeing my friend Claudette. We meet once a week for lunch or a movie or something. That gives me joy.
Yeah.
Anticipating physical activity. Like, I know this may sound really bizarre, but like I love going on hikes and I love lifting weight. Like I look forward to going to the gym and pressing that metal because I work out stuff in the gym. I sit there and the music's playing in my ear. But it gives me joy to like get stronger.
Yeah.
And it's not about physical. I'm not a vain person. You don't gain 130 pounds because you're a vain person. But like when I work out, I just feel the sense of strengthening, which gives me joy. And I anticipate going to the gym to do my weight training because it makes me grateful. And also I'm grateful that I can lift the 20-pound bag of litter out of the trunk of my car. And it's like nothing compared to 5 years ago when that 20-pound bag was like, getting it out of the car was an ordeal. And now I can lift it with one hand even and bring it in the house. I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. That's strengthening. Strengthening is important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, as you were talking, I think one of the things that was really coming up for me is that this particular last year, so 2024 to 2025, I got to be 50. I'm still 50. Next Tuesday, I'm 51.
Oh, that's your birthday.
It is my
Happy early
birthday. Thank you so much. And one of the things, I've been saying this to friends all year, my poor friends and my poor spouse have been hearing me talk about this all year. But the thing that I noticed the most this year, being 50, is that I have felt new depths of gratitude that I have never experienced before. And part of why I think that's true, and this is going back to what you said about kind of what brings gratitude to you, is really this, our relationships. Not just any old relationships, but the relationships that are the deepest, the ones that in most cases have lasted the longest.
Yes, the old friends.
So I have gotten to spend, during this 50th year, I've gotten to spend more time with people that I've known for 25 years, which is half my life, or longer. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have felt so much gratitude this year. First and foremost, because I have those people, but also because we all made time to spend so much time together this year.
Yes, that's very rich. Yeah.
And I think the other thing, and I said this to you in our pre-show phone call last week, that the other thing that I've noticed that corresponds to that gratitude, as my gratitude has gotten more this year, what has also accompanied that is a sadness. And the sadness isn't a debilitating, depressing sadness. It is just the awareness that the people that bring so much to my life, will not always be here.
Oh, yes. The loss, the love loss.
That's right. And what kind of resonated in my head was the quote from Queen Elizabeth that you talked about in our grief episode. And I wondered if you would just remind us all what Queen Elizabeth's
when she lost her beloved Prince Philip, I'm someone, not to brag on myself, but I do collect quotes, as you know, and I read a lot. This is the best quote, I think, in the world on grief. Queen Elizabeth said, "Grief is the price we pay for love."
Yeah.
And that's it. And when the more you love someone, a husband, a pet, a dear friend from 25 years ago, the worse the grief is going to be. Or even the anticipatory thinking, oh my God, what if they're not here? I tell my dearest friends, please, I want them to take care of themselves. I want them to be super centenarians with me.
Right.
I don't want to be 110 hiking mountains alone. I want to have my friends with me. And also, grief is not to be feared because it's completely entwined with the love. And as you said, as we get older, and there's more at risk, So I know. So and you have a husband who you adore.
Oh yeah.
And the thought of possibly losing him is like,
yeah. Well, and the not just the anticipatory that I could, but the knowledge that at some point he will. I will lose him. And so part of what I just want to talk about is that gratitude is wonderful. Grief is wonderful too.
Yes.
Right? Like the same wonderfulness that comes with gratitude is also the privilege to get to grieve somebody that meant so much to us. And again, that doesn't mean that it always feels good. Mm-hmm. So gratitude is really enriched my life this year. It's actually put my life into a great deal of focus because now I don't want to spend time with people that don't bring me that sense of gratitude, right? The other thing that you said, which I think is so important, you used the word anticipatory, but a word that I use to think about that is savoring, right?
I love that.
And savoring and gratitude go hand in hand. And savoring is the ability to prolong or to kind of stretch out the good feeling that often comes with gratitude. One of the reasons why my husband and I like to plan events, whether it's dinners with friends or vacations, one of the reasons why we just like to plan things is we call it pre-savoring, which is, so my husband is turning 60 next year, and we've planned on going to Africa for a safari.
Cool.
And just planning that trip, just the joy and the contentment and the gratitude that we can do that we can still do that.
And you look forward to it. And I call that also anticipatory savoring.
Yes.
Anticipatory joy. Anticipatory savoring is a good way to put it.
Yeah. And so I think that gratitude is just appreciating that we have each other, that we still have our health and our ability to spend time together, and that we can plan travel together, because the other awareness is that that's not true for everybody.
Exactly. Right. And to add to your point, I read this from William Arthur Ward. He said, feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. So the importance of saying, you may be thinking, oh, I love this person, I'm so grateful for them. Yeah. Say the words. Yeah. I have one girlfriend, before you get off the phone, she always says to me, I love you, you're extraordinary, I'm so happy you're my friend. This is we've known each other 50 years. We were in elementary school. But she always says nice things like that, and she's always expressing her gratitude. And I do too. I mean, I express, but I'm learning more and more to say it in the moment. Don't have any regrets. I wish I told them more that I love them or I'm grateful. So it's good to, if I make one point on this, on part one of this topic, is to be more forthcoming. And I know I'm not judging New Englanders, but honestly, everyone's so buttoned up here. The good news, the bad news. They don't want to share even the beautiful saying, I love you, I'm grateful for you, as a friend or as a teacher, or appreciating your teachers. I don't know if your students say thank you. Sometimes people don't say thank you. They just show up and they go home. So I'm saying we got to say thank you, and I'm grateful more and more out loud, formally, acknowledge and validate people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to your micro macro point that you made earlier about micro and macro, I think what you say in that is really important, because people can really be grateful for literally anything, right? And the point that we really want to underscore is that we want people to really figure out what they're really grateful for versus what they think they have to be grateful for, or should be grateful for, or must be grateful for, or have to be grateful for, or ought to be grateful for.
Now we get into that shoulda, oughta.
Right.
At least you don't have blah, 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 the toxic positivity.
Yeah. And so
let's go there.
Yeah. So let's go there. So we've been talking a lot about the upsides of gratitude, the benefits to our health, our well-being, that it really kind of creates a depth of intimacy in our relationships. Yes. But there is also a darker side to gratitude. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about toxic positivity?
I almost feel like I'm the queen of batting off people who tell me to be grateful, without getting into my details.
Sure.
Because I'm going to spare you all. I practice grief etiquette everywhere. Things could really be quite a storm of horror.
Yeah.
And someone will say to me, but you should be grateful. Look how healthy you are now. Look at that nice house you live in. You have so many friends, blah, blah, blah. Your work is going well.
At least you have your health.
At least you have your health. At least you have, you're doing that fun podcast with Heath. Be grateful. I want to smack them. When people tell me to be grateful, I want to smack their face. I don't, because I'm polite.
Right.
But don't tell me, I would never tell someone to be grateful, or at least you don't have blah, 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 or at least you have X, Y, Z, because it's very diminishing. It's invalidating the feelings. And also, what I've learned from my dialectical work is that I can be grateful and sad. Yeah. I mean, this is the part of the thing they don't get. Yeah. I could be having a very rough time. Husband's in the ER as we speak. He's literally today, he's in the ER, and I'm feeling good, and I'm also very sad, and don't tell me to be grateful, because I know I have a lot to be grateful for. That's an intellectual given, but there are days when I need to feel the feelings, and the grief and the gratitude. That's an interesting combination, feeling grateful and grief. Yeah. So it's very toxic when someone says to you, come on, be grateful, and turn that frown upside down. Like, what are you upset about? Oh, I want to smack them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of it is there is this pressure, right? Pressuring people into feeling something that they don't feel.
It's a control issue.
Right. Is definitely part of what we're talking about when we're talking about kind of toxic positivity. I think one of the other ways in which gratitude can be toxic is when we also I think, especially like in our workplaces, hearing things like, be grateful that you have a job, think about all of those poor people that, are unemployed. I also think about the ways in which we invalidate people's lived experiences when it comes to being oppressed, right? Mm-hmm. So telling women that they should be grateful that they are able to work outside of the home when in fact they're making 70 cents on the dollar. Or, this is especially true of my Black and African American female friends and colleagues who are told that they should feel grateful that we no longer live in the time of segregation, or that, their redlining is no longer a problem. And, that's kind of not true, first and foremost. And secondly, the audacity to tell someone that they should feel something is really just a way of distracting the conversation from really important, unresolved social issues that still need to be addressed, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that when we think about gratitude, we need to think about how we're encouraging it. We need to also think about the way that we talk to people when we even bring up the subject of gratitude and being grateful.
Yes. Yeah. It's a dangerous line there of I would never tell a client or patient they should be grateful. It's harsh. Yeah. But the interesting thing is I do like encouraging dual emotions and being able to embrace what seems to be possibly paradoxical feelings, and allowing a person to know you can have many shades of anger and gratitude at the same time, and you're not going to lose your mind. Yeah.
What are some things that you see in your practice with people, or maybe even experience yourself? What gets in the way of people being
Oh,
able to experience
I can tell you, I have what gets in the way. Oh, I know people who have gratitude so they can't feel their feelings, like they won't allow themselves to be sad, or
Right.
I won't say names, but of course, uh,
Yeah.
it's easier for me to. I have more examples of people who feel so grateful they can't experience their sadness,
Right.
and the people who are so depressed. I have some people who are so depressed that it's really hard for them to focus on. When I say when you focus on what you love, you get more of that, and when you focus on the things you enjoy, it eases your depression a bit, without telling them to be grateful.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the idea that people can learn to train their brain to focus on what they love, because where the attention goes, the energy flows, and their whole pharmaceutical insides matches the thought. So I'm always trying to encourage them to be aware of their neurology and how their brain is just following instructions. When you say, I hate this, I hate that, I'm so upset, I want to kill them, you create a whole storm of negative emotional chemicals, which hurts. And resentments hurt. And when you turn that around and say, okay, this really is terrible right now, my young people will say, I need to learn to embrace the suck. I know that. Like, embrace the suck is a really good term for this. And they say that, I'm saying, yeah, like it's miserable right now what you've got going there.
Yeah.
But if you can embrace the suck, then you maybe can feel some goodness or gratitude. We have radical acceptance first. You can't bypass the feelings.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed in my work with clients that one of the barriers to feeling gratitude is either people who have a low sense of entitlement, meaning they don't really think they deserve anything.
Yes, that's a problem.
And then there are people who are at the other end of the spectrum who have what I'll say diplomatically as a heightened sense of entitlement, which is they think they deserve a lot more than they're getting from the world, from people, etc.
I have a laundry list.
That's right. I will save the diagnosing of people with that, but I will say that people do have kind of small n narcissism. It can be really hard to be grateful when you feel like you're not getting everything that you're owed.
That's right.
By the world.
That's right.
So that certainly is a barrier. I think some of the other things that I see in my work as well as a social worker is obviously when people don't have their most basic needs met. It's hard to be grateful when you don't have a roof over your head.
That's right.
It's hard to experience gratitude when there's no food in your belly. It's also really hard to feel grateful when you feel unsafe. Or insecure.
You were bringing to mind somebody I know who's a beautiful young lady. She's a freshman in college, and she's living in an ocean of alcoholism at home. Both of her parents, wildly out of control, inappropriate, unregulated, and no matter what she does, she makes some good moves. She's trying to get through life. It's just it's a nightmare, and we're trying to get her. Eventually, she'll make enough money to leave the house, but it's really hard to maintain gratitude when everyone's screaming and hitting and running around nuts, and that's one of those issues where it's systemic. We have to deal with the system, and you cannot tell someone who's in that ocean of alcoholism, be grateful, focus on what you love. No, we're into action and radical acceptance and letting go and focusing on what she can do. How can I get through this day? I think the how question is extremely important with this work. Just basically, we have a few minutes, right? When you ask why, why is this happening to me? Why is my father yelling? Why did they drink so much? It's a slippery slope into a deep depression. It's horrible. When you say, how can I get better? How can I get the help that I need? How can I make a difference today? How can I get my homework done? Where do the how question puts you into action, and you're no longer a victim. I think when people get into that victim consciousness, you go down. It's depressing, So I always say, don't ask the why question, ask the how question. The how question lifts you up. Even when things are horrible, how can I make the best of this? How can I get the help,
Right.
And that helps with the gratitude. And you feel grateful too. Oh, good. I'm going to a therapist, or I'm taking new medication, or, I'm going on a retreat this weekend, whatever.
Yeah.
Something good will come from the how question.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of what I like about what you're saying is twofold. First of all, it goes back to what you were talking to about hope. Right, earlier.
Yeah. Hold on, pain ends.
Right, exactly. Because to a large extent, what you were saying about the systems is really important as we think about kind of how and why people may or may not experience gratitude. And part of what we have to also realize is people often grow up in family systems where no one really shows gratitude, right? There's kind of this unspoken rule in a lot of families to like, you're a member of this family, whether you want to be or not. And so they don't really talk about gratitude. They don't necessarily express gratitude for one another. Oftentimes we're taught in families to kind of take each other for granted.
Plus, if may I just add this
Please.
now, if someone has the questionable blessing or burden of being in a religious family, you're going to hear something like this. You're too blessed to be stressed, and you're too anointed to be disappointed. Get that frown off your face. You know, when people are being told that you should feel blessed, or, you know, or saying, I'm too blessed to be stressed, it can feel good when you say it for yourself, but when somebody tells you you're too blessed to be stressed, that's a burn. And some people think that, you know, like God is good to you, and that God, we're not getting into the deep theological questions here, but God can be used as a battering to, you know, you're not showing enough gratitude. Where's your gratitude, you know? Yeah. So that's an issue too for my religious people.
Yeah.
You know, religious people suffer with lack of, when they don't have gratitude, they feel guilty.
Yeah.
And
well, and again, I think that part of what you're saying that's really important is so another system that really shapes the way that we think about gratitude is our faith traditions, right? What do our faith traditions train us about being grateful? What can we be grateful for? What should we be grateful for? Kind of back to those should, have tos, and musts.
That's right.
Sometimes those very rigid rules around gratitude are reinforced from two really important systems, our family systems and our religious and faith tradition systems, which sometimes may also give us very contradictory messages about what to feel grateful for. And
very complicated.
And actually makes it really hard for us to really tap into the things that we're authentically grateful for.
Yeah, that's beautifully put. Yes. Yeah. Yes. No. That's why gratitude is a double-sided coin.
Yeah.
And we're going to be wrapping up. I hope this has been helpful. We're talking about both sides of gratitude, the joy of it and the peace of it, the warmth of it, and the toxic positivity. Yeah. We don't want to go there. And in our next episode, we're going to be, right after this, we're going to be talking about tips, tools, techniques, and methods, as we always do. How can we cultivate gratitude? How can we bring ourselves to more a healthy gratitude versus a guilt gratitude? And I want to thank you again for sharing with us your strength, hope, and experience. I love it. Anything else you want to add before we close?
Yeah. I mean, I think some real important takeaways for me as I think about what we've been talking about today is this ability to hold the good parts of gratitude while also acknowledging that we can feel more than just those things. So being able to experience the grief and the gratitude simultaneously, because they really are two sides of the same coin. And I think part of why the grief is oftentimes harder for people is because we don't tether the grief to the joy parts. We kind of only focus on one side of the coin, and we don't ask people to learn how to hold both sides of the coin. Be grateful for what you do have, what you're authentically grateful for, and know that many of the things that you're grateful for won't last forever. And it's okay to be sad about that all at the same time.
Thank you for saying that so well. And the essence of what I'm taking away from what you just said is that the contrast is essential. Yeah. If we just had joy, joy, joy all the time, it would be nothing. We'd be bored. So the contrast of the grief and the gratitude work in sync in our lives to help us maintain the joy and the savoring and the anticipatory savoring. And all of us need to know that it gives the full flavor of life. And if we were all infinite and whatever, it would never be worthwhile. So that's why it's built this way. We have a lovely, so thank you, Heath. Yeah. This has been Lisa Wessan, and
I'm Heath Hightower.
Yeah, and good health is wealth. We hope you continue on your journey to listen with us and listen and learn. And we will continue this conversation in the next episode on gratitude. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.
Process Recordings is produced by Lisa Wessan and Heath Hightower, with technical support from Chelmsford TeleMedia, the community media center of Chelmsford, Massachusetts.